So today I want to talk about this one particular mindset I have actually only heard mentioned once ever. And I put it into action. I heard it about 5 weeks ago. And I put it into action right away and have really been designing my life around it. And it's really, hey, good morning from London, Amanda. Yeah, it's actually rainy where I am here in Salt Lake City. But I put this into action right away, and it's so strange that I had never heard this before. Like, that is really rare for me. I've been studying kind of like the personal development, self help, all that stuff for 25 years, easy. And I hadn't heard this term, and I wanted to put it into action before I, talk to you guys about it. Sherry from Boston, what's up? Have you done your scope today? Yeah, no doubt. That should be for Scope or Secret. That's another Facebook group I do. So anyway, so let's start with the wrong way to do it. So this is a mindset I definitely have had most of the time. And almost everybody I know has had it at some point. And let me bring this up. And it's called patient impatience. Okay, and what that is basically is it's the idea of, okay, so we're in September right now. I've got all these goals. I want to, maybe lose 40 pounds. I want to do all these things. I'll do it at the new year. I'll start a New Year's resolution, right? And you're patient about going after the parts, the goals in your life that would make your life epic. And a lot of people, like I remember I was probably about 20 and I was like, okay, I don't know anything about money. My family was extremely poor. I didn't even know you could get like grants and loans and stuff to go to college. I went into the army to get money for college. That's how little I knew. But I thought to myself, well, I'll learn about money one day, like maybe when I'm 40, right? Like I was completely patient on the fact that, oh, one day maybe I'll learn, right? And then as I started learning about it, it's kind of hard at first. Yeah, you put off something till tomorrow. Yeah. And then when I started trying to learn about it, I'm reading a book about finances and it's talking about compounding interest. And I'm like, whoa, like I barely understood it. I got really impatient with the information and I even tried. Like I started a bank account and I did some of the things that they said to be able to earn that compounding interest. And I don't know, 6 months in, I had made like 27 cents. And I'm like, this is crap. And then something came up and I took the money out and bought something, again, maybe when I was 23 or 24. That's when I first, I just got this little thing to, maybe I will start learning now just to try, and got really impatient with it right away. And that is how most people are. We will do it one day, maybe 20 years from now, maybe 10 years from now, maybe at the end of the year, just after the holidays, right? That is patient impatience. Right? Once we start doing it, then we're completely impatient with the process, right? It gets really annoying. We're not getting the outcome we want right away. And I see that, with Internet Business Mastery, one of the main reasons people quit is because, they don't make $1 million in the first month. Or they don't even wow, I didn't get to quit my job in 1 month of doing business ever in my entire life. They're really impatient with the process it takes to actually build a huge business, like a business you can live off. Thanks again for the hearts, everyone. 35 people in the room. All right, we're finally starting to, get some momentum with this. I've been doing it about 4.5 weeks now. Yeah, their expectations aren't realistic. That's part of it too, right? And so that is the thing that, I see most people doing, and I did most of my life. Yeah, I can't wait to make $1 million a month. Yeah. And now if you, John, had been like, that has to happen within the first maybe 3 to 6 months, right? You would not be doing business now, right? Yeah, and a lot of times their first business idea fails. Like I definitely tried a bunch of different things. And when I finally did my first online business, it actually worked out. And this is a different story, but it worked out and I hated the business. I didn't know I should be more specific about it. Then I was working a job I hated even more than the job I had before. That was another mistake that I made. But the patient impatience, that's the thing we want to get over. We want to not have that be our normal mode of thinking. That is absolutely the blue pill way of thinking about things. Yeah, exactly. I failed at 10 ideas until something really worked. Okay, so here's what we want to change to. Now I'm going to take a little pause. All right. So thank you, hearts. Thank you. So what I want to be able to change to is impatient patience. And what that means is, and I'll give you an example. I just tested this out for myself. Impatient patience is where when you decide, oh my gosh, I really want to do something, right? Like I want to start a new business. I want to learn to play the piano. I want to, I don't know, lose weight. One of the goals that you have, instead of going, okay, well, I'll do that Monday, or I'll do that at the end of the year, right? Like that'll be one of my New Year's resolutions, or I just got to get through all this work I'm doing right now. I'm really, really busy. Later, I will do it. Instead, it's about doing it right now. Right? Whatever it is, it's taking a massive amount of action right in the beginning. And I'll explain what I did to make this happen. So I watched my business partner, Jason Van Orden. He was doing this scope thing. So I watched it. And the first time I watched it, I was like, wow, this is really cool. Like it seemed to fit. Like I just had that instinct that it would fit me even better than the whole podcasting thing, which I've been doing for 10 years, right? And so I got extremely excited. So the day I watched him, yeah, when you think it, do it. Yeah, D. When I saw him do it, I got extremely excited about it and went, I'm doing it today. So I like cleared the rest of what I was going to do that day. And I started looking up every single thing I could about Periscope, about what it was to, what did I call it? I think I called it Scopecast because I didn't know, right? Like I was just thinking of podcast. So Scopecast, I didn't know anything. Impatient to start, P for results. Yeah, we'll get to that. So I dove in. I bought 2 courses the first day, and then I think 2 or 3 more the next day, and I just completely learned as much as I could right away with the intent of within the next couple of days, I was absolutely going to do my first scope. I didn't want to wait weeks. I wanted to take absolutely fast action, completely be impatient about learning about it. And kind of the goal is, so part of this process of impatient, the impatient part, is getting a bunch of information to be able to take fast action. Education is the first part of the taking fast action. It's not leading to the fast action, it is part of the fast action. So one of the things I read about this was when you get about 40% of the absolute basic general knowledge, 40%, don't go over 40%. Don't learn absolutely everything it is in this first initial like launch phase, right? So I learned a ton about it. I learned what I needed to do. I started doing what they said right away. Before I even did my first scope, I wanted to have some followers. So I did some of the steps needed to get followers. I went in and watched other people's scopes. Ethan, I think, is in the room still. I watched Ethan. I watched a whole handful of people for about 3 days. So let's see, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yeah, so about 3 days. And then Sunday, I did it the first day. So I watched all those courses. Now, there wasn't a lot on Periscope yet, right? Like, so even these courses were maybe 2 hours. I watch everything 2 or 3 times the speed. So I was able to get through all of this really, really quickly. But again, it was my intent of, okay, Sunday, I'm going to start, even though I just started learning about it Thursday. So I did that impatient part. And then I started. And I was completely terrified. And if you watched any of the old ones where I talk about this, like I was completely terrified, even though I've been doing podcasting and interview and speaking on stage for 10 years. Where did you find the courses? Googled it. This newfangled thing called Google. I just said Periscope courses, right? Periscope courses for business. And then I went to Udemy. I bought a couple of Udemy courses, although I bought the Udemy courses and the people who made the courses, I went onto Periscope to see how many followers they had. And the guy who had the most followers was 200 followers. And he had an entire udemy.com course, yes. And see, my daughter buys a lot of courses, and I buy her a lot of courses on Udemy. She's 15. She wants to learn about robotics or any of this kind of stuff. I buy her there. But these guys had very little, practical knowledge, but I still used their information, whatever they had. See, they were still ahead of me. I hadn't done anything, and they at least had some people, so I watched their stuff and took that major action. Yeah, Charlene is another one. Yeah, she's epic. Awesome. So So anyway, that is the impatient parts. Took a major amount of action, but again, we do not want to get stuck in the paralysis of analysis, right? We don't want to spend 3 weeks learning every possible aspect. What is the absolute best way to do every single tiny thing? Like learn that up to 40%. Maybe let's stay in the 20 to 40% range. Just enough to get started is basically what I wanted to know. Right, and I went on YouTube even, and there were some people showing different things. Yeah, $10 specials on Udemy right now. Yeah, that's all the time. It's the analysis of paralysis. Do not go over 40%, or you're not still in the impatient stage. Right? If you're like going, okay, I want to know everything about this, that is not the impatient stage. Now you're stuck back in the patient impatience. Okay, so we've done the impatience part. I just had to know, and I wanted to get started. Then what you do is that's when you kind of ratchet down and you go into the patient stage, right? So I started doing my scopes, right? And I started trying to do, okay, well, I'm going to do 3 or 4 this week, still completely terrified, just trying to figure it out. Meanwhile, learning more. Now I was going to start, after I took that initial action, I did my Sunday first scope. And then I started developing more and more. Yeah, they're stuck in excuses and procrastination stage. Yes, that's when it switches from the impatient. You think you're being impatient. Boom, I want to learn all this stuff. But if you're not actually taking the action after, then you're not in the impatient stage. Yeah, been there. We all have. For sure, I've done that. You know, for years and years and years, there's been so many things on my goal list that I was like, well, maybe next year. I just have to do some of these basic things, and then I will go do it. Like, how many times have we done that, right? And that is absolutely not the epic mindset. The epic mindset, impatience first. Go get just the information you need, and then take the action. Now, once you take that action, boom, now we're going to be impatient. Okay, and here's what it looks like, right? Impatient patience. That is what we want. We now want to go, okay, I'm in this for the long haul. And, you know, like it's like the rocket, now we're in space, now we're going to take the time to, you know, if we launched a rocket to space, now we want to study the Earth. We want to take the time. We're just doing what is needed to keep moving forward. And it does not have to be this massive amount of action. Now we're going to go from that maybe 40% learning, and we're going to patiently get to 42%. Take action. 44% take action on what we learn. Because one of the things I started realizing I was doing, I was listening to so many books, and I listened 2 or 3 speed, right? Like, so these things are going by really fast, but my retention was even lower than normal. Right? Lower than what I do now when I'm reading, 2 to 5 books a week. I really want to take it and implement the information, or it's kind of useless to me. And I don't read a whole lot of fiction because I want that information, right? Like I want to be able to create that epic life from the information from other people that have been studying it their whole life, right? So anyway, we want to be patient. So then I started doing the Periscope stuff, like, I think the first week I did 4 scopes. And I really started outlining. I really started, getting myself into the long-term aspect of gaining this new skill, gaining this new aspect to business, right? This Periscope thing. And I thank you guys so much for inviting people. And I see a lot more people have come in. So let me explain again really quickly. I'll do a brief recap. The first thing is we want to switch our mindset from what most people are in the beginning. And that is most people are patient. They're patient impatience. That is how they act on their lives, act on their goals. And that's where they go, oh, in a year, maybe I'll start that goal. Or in 10 years, when I'm 30, then I'll do this. When I'm 40, then I'll learn about money. They're very, very patient about when they start their goal. And then when they do, the very few that actually do start, then they're completely impatient in the actions or the results they're getting. If it doesn't happen right away, then they're like, yes, forget this. I knew it was too hard. I should wait until then or this other day. Okay, so that's the way we don't want to be anymore. And the way we do want to be now is impatient patience. We want to take action today. Take action now. Take action this week, like as fast as you possibly can, even if all it is buying that book on the subject. If you want to learn, yoga for foodie, or yoga to foodie. If you want to learn yoga, instead of waiting and going, oh, well, I got to get a class and I got to get all the gear and I have to do all that, go on YouTube and find somebody that has like a little 5-minute morning class and just start. Actually take the action now. And the impatient part, again, we want to get up to about 40% knowledge, no further than 40% knowledge before we take action on the knowledge. Can't wait to start breakfast on low heat, right? So that is what we want to do, the impatience, and then we're in it for the long haul. We have to have the daily progress, the daily patience to do the tiny steps necessary to get to the end result that we want. It's not going to, we don't have to worry about, that we have to make that $1 million when we start a business in the first month, right? Like, it was the daily actions for me when I started Internet Business Mastery with Jason. We did the podcast for 1.5 years before we ever monetized it. We got the consistent habit of actually doing the show, actually giving all that value away. And I'll tell you what, one of the other things is everybody loves Pat Flynn. Now, Pat Flynn's story is when he started, he did his blog for, I can't remember, it was like maybe 2 years before he even added an email list. He was creating value. He was learning the skills, right? He was doing all the things it takes to make it so that when he did finally open up an email list, boom, tons of people followed because they'd been getting that value, right? Like it was the constant action that he was taking, the small progress every single day that actually could lead him to get to the point where, now he's got millions of followers, right? He also learned from me. Yeah, he worked for us actually first. And I consider he was kind of I mentored him in the beginning. We met for lunch almost every single week. We talk about all sorts of stuff. He was worked for Internet Business Mastery for, I don't know, like 8 months or something like that, right when he started. And we had a mastermind group. And he took such fast action. I was like, man, I want to be around this guy. I totally want to help him. I'd say, oh, go do this one thing. And then the next week we would see each other. He went, oh, I did that, and then 3 more things. And I'd be like, nobody does that. I have family and friends that I mentored, like, just so, I'm talking about Pat Flynn, Dan. I have family and friends that I tried to do that with, and I'd go, all you got to do is go read this one book. It's a small book. Just go read that. I talked to him 2 months later. Oh, yeah, I forgot to get that book. Like, that's how everybody was. And then when Pat Flynn came along, he would do whatever. Like, I would go do this, go get this book. He would read the book the next time we saw each other for lunch, or we'd go walking on the beach. Of Smart Passive Income. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, thanks so much. This is, again, I was doing this Periscope. This is why I got so excited and why I was absolutely impatient with this Periscope, is because this is how I talk to my friends. When we go to lunch, we get crazy. We talk about the most awesome stuff. And when I'm hanging out with Nikki, and we go on our walks or we're together, we just sit there and talk about all of this cool stuff. And again, like, a 1.5 months ago when I learned this impatient patience thing, I think I ranted about it for like 2 hours or something, going, this is amazing. How did I not think of this, right? So anyway, impatient patience. Take that time, and I'll tell you what, the habit stuff that we've been talking about for the last like 3 weeks or so, it fits in that. Like we talked about getting that keystone habit, right? For me, it was health in 2 aspects of health, the nutritional side and the actual movement exercise stuff. And so we were creating tiny habits. So I took tons of action. I was like going, okay, well, here's what I want to do movement-wise. And then I used the tiny habits. I took all this action to learn and write down what my rules were and do all of this stuff to get started. And then I was using the tiny habits that we went over to make it so I would do it every single day. And now I'm being patient. I used to think I want to lose 1 pound a day. 1 pound a day, that's insane. Like somebody was saying, these expectations we have that are crazy. Instead, I just want to lose 2 pounds a week. I've read a lot on that being what's healthy, right? Like you can maintain your health, and it's almost too unhealthy to be losing 7 pounds a week, right? There's all these physical issues that can happen if you're losing that much weight. So I shifted, and now I'm very, very patient with it. And it's funny because even though I have 2 pounds a week, I'm losing more than 2 pounds a week. But still, I'm not losing a pound a day. I'm trying to keep it very, very, in the idea of patience. Okay, so somebody said, everyday gravity. Sometimes getting someone else to do what you can't is a way to move things forward. I'm not actually sure what that means. Yeah, 2 pounds a week is completely reasonable. I completely agree. That's not hard. 1 pound a day, that's hard. I've done that before. When I started the paleo diet, like I've been on 45 different diets, right? But when I started the paleo diet, I was losing in 1 pound. I got all the way to 17 days. I lost 17 pounds in 17 days. Hey, Dawn, what's going on? Welcome. If you just came in, we're just wrapping up. But I'll do another... I'll go over what we talked about. But anyway, so I'd lost that 17 pounds. So in my mind, I'm like, yeah, you can totally lose a pound a day. And then every time I tried after that, I wasn't able to keep that up. And then I would get completely frustrated 2 weeks in. And like everyone else, quit about 2 weeks into any diet I tried after that. And now with the idea, I made an entire list of rules now, including I'm not on a diet. For the first time in like 17 years, I'm not on a diet. Like, it's all about switching that mindset. And I did a ton of impatient action, which was learning more about really the inner workings of not being on a diet, instead of learning from all these diet books that say, okay, you have to completely change all of your eating and all these things that for 17 years didn't work. So very impatient about that side. Now it's just 2 pounds a week until it happens. Like for me, it's like next year before I'll get to the weight that I want, but I don't worry about that. That's the patient part. Now that I've taken the massive action, now it's about patience. Okay, so really, really quickly, here's what we talked about. Impatience is how most people do it. They're very patient about when they're going to start their goal. They'll start it someday. It's almost always later. And if they ever finally do it, they're completely impatient with the results, right? Like they want the results right away. And if they don't get it right away, they just quit. But we want to be impatient patience. We want to take massive action in the beginning, get about 40% knowledge at the most before you actually take the action, and then be very, very patient with the results. And kind of take it like, I always try and take it as a scientific mindset. Like I've got my, here it is, I'll show you. I got my food journal right here. And every day I'm writing down all my stuff, how much weight I'm losing. Sometimes it's 0.7 pounds, right? And then I look at what's the day before. What did I do? I'm analyzing. I'm being very patient with it. There's been days I've lost 2 pounds in one day, right? And I'm like, ooh, what did I do? And I'm keeping track, being very patient. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm not thinking, okay, well, in 2 months, I'm going to lose all the weight I want to lose. Instead, being very patient. I want exactly what I want, like, yeah, quantified self, for sure. Totally got into that movement. I even went to a couple of meetup groups here in Salt Lake for people who did that, quantified self stuff. But anyway, so, I've got that long-term, realistic, but, like most people don't lose the weight. So I figure if I can just lose the 2 pounds, take the time to actually do it, keep on track. Last weekend, you guys might have seen that I ended up having a Thanksgiving for my family because my 18-year-old daughter is moving out of state and she won't be here for Thanksgiving. So for the heck of it, we had Thanksgiving. Well, yep, gained about a pound and a half from that. Even though I was trying really, really hard to stick to all my rules, still gained a pound and a half. But even now that I'm already back, got rid of that pound and a half and a little bit more, back on track for that just 2 pounds a week. All right, so here's my question for you. What's an example of a goal that you've been waiting on? You've been thinking someday, or, as soon as this big project I'm working on at work is over, or as soon as the kids are back in school, or as soon as, starting my business. Yeah, that's got to be a massive one for people, especially that are going for that, James. I totally get that. Bulletproof coffee. Oh, yeah. What else? Come on, guys. What else? What are other things that you are putting off? Do you broadcast off of an iPhone or an iPad? iPad. Record a song. Guitar answer guy. Yeah. I have an iPad 2 Air, and I love it. I can see everything. Give this man some hearts. Hey, thanks, guys. Creating a podcast, procrastinating for 1 year. Yes. And I'll bet you actually have more than 40% of the knowledge, right? Outsourcing, right? This whole iPad thing is an awesome setup. I talk all about this kind of stuff on scopersecrets.com. I do Periscope. Putting off goal setting. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have way more knowledge than I need, says James. Yeah, I mean, isn't that crazy? Like, one of the things I was telling myself when I started making this keystone habit again of health is, I've been studying diets for like 17 years. I'm a double extra expert on it. I just hadn't made it work, right? Yeah, it makes me feel like I might mess up because I know too much. Yeah. Well, and that's another thing behind don't know more than 40%. And I'll tell you what, I can't remember. Somebody was just mentioning in the Facebook group. By the way, the Facebook group, if you're new, epiclifeleague.com. We got a Facebook group where we're talking all about this, escaping the matrix. And anytime I do these periscopes, I do scope notes, and all of the information, any links I talk about are all there as well. So definitely join Epic Life League to learn all about this epic stuff. But somebody was talking about something that triggered me to remind you guys about a kid I met. I was at a mastermind about 3 years ago. It was really a boot camp sort of mastermind called the 8-Figure Boot Camp. And it was about taking 7-figure businesses into 8-figure businesses. And I met a kid that was 26. You are awesome at relaying information. Love it. Thanks, Janet. So I met this kid, and he was making $10 million a year, 26, age 26. Okay, and so I'm asking him all these questions because I'm just a tiny bit over 26. I've celebrated a lot of anniversaries to my 30th birthday, right? So I'm talking to this kid and I'm like going, how the hell are you making $10 million a year? And he's explaining to me, oh, I just did this and I just did this. And then I met these guys who run a bank and then they told me this, and I just kept asking him questions and they would answer and let me know and blah, blah, blah. And then he was like, oh, and then I just started an ad agency and blah, blah, blah. He's like telling me this stuff and I'm like going, like, how did you know, like, how did you not get nervous about doing this? He's like, well, what do you mean? Like and then here's the other thing. I said, I wanted to learn how he was doing, what he was doing. So I said, can I pay you to learn some of this stuff that you're doing? And he's like, oh, I got all the money I need. But he goes, I want a sailboat. Buy me a sailboat and then come to my place. He had three homes. Right, one of them was in on the beach in just above San Diego. So I actually flew to San Diego. I bought him a sailboat. He's like, oh, I was just going to buy one. If you buy it for me, that's better than just giving me money. I went there and I learned from him for about a week. And what I realized is this kid, this 26-year-old kid, he did not know it was supposed to be hard to make $10 million a year. It was blowing me away. He's like, oh yeah, and then I just started this company, and I met this guy, and I just phoned up this guy I heard was an investor and said, hey, I've got this idea, and here's what I'm going to do. I already started it, but I could use some investment. And he didn't know that you don't just call up angel investors and get $1 million, deal right off. Right? Like, that's insane to me. And that was something that really triggered me. That was about 5 or 6 years ago. That was making me go, I think I know too much. Right? Like I know how hard it's supposed to be. I've read all this stuff about business. I think it's harder than it needs to be. He just didn't know that. And to me, that's part of the impatient part we talked about. You want to just get to that 40% knowledge, just enough information to actually take action. Was he more confident than most people? No, he didn't even know he was being confident. It was actually extremely frustrating that it was that. He just didn't know. Thanks again for the hearts, guys. If you didn't know, hearts really, you just tap the screen and you can tap up to like 500 times per scope. And it just lets me know that you're finding value. You have to act like a 5-year-old. Don't let grown-up thoughts hinder us. Yes, I totally agree. And that's what I was thinking with the scope cast. Like when that's what I thought it was, scope casting, right? He didn't know he should be afraid. Yeah, he just didn't know. And I was like going, well, what if this and what if this? And he's like, what do you mean? Like he didn't know so many things. I couldn't believe it because I had been doing business and with Internet Business Mastery, we had hit the 7-figure mark. We were doing that, but it was, aspects of it were hard and getting it to grow even bigger was harder. And he read this book. I think it's called, let me see, I got it over here somewhere. Ready, Fire, Aim. He read the book Ready, Fire, Aim from that little mastermind group. So when we finally got together, when I flew out to San Diego and stayed with him on his beach house, and this is his life. He would get up, go surf, and then he would do a little bit of business for about 2 hours, and then he would play for the whole rest of the day. Because 2 hours was getting him, I can't remember what it is. He was like, you just need $3,000 a day. You just need to make $3,000 a day to make $1 million a year. I'm like, what? Like he just thought that was no problem, right? And he's like, so to make $10 million a year, once I started making $3,000 a day, I was like, oh, well now I just need $30,000 a day. And then he's like, and then when I made $30,000 a day, he read that Ready, Fire, Aim book and went, wow, now how do I make $100 million a year? Right? Like that is absolutely insane. And the fact that he was just like, yeah, now I just need to make, $100 million a year. And he just said it like it was no thing. But it's so funny that, my mindset was just constantly wanting to counter him. No, it's not easy to make $30,000 a day. It's not easy to make $3,000 a day. But then he just did. Like he showed me. He showed me some of these things that he was doing. And it was all about email marketing. It was all these crazy things. He would buy the entire front page of MSN, all the different ad spots in it, and put ads in there. He'd buy the whole page. He's like, oh, it's just 15 grand and I can make 30 grand off just that page. I can double my money by putting affiliate ads all over MSN. That was one of the things he did. It was absolutely amazing. And he just didn't know, he didn't even have a product he was selling. Like here I was, doing Internet Business Mastery. We've got all these courses and we have all this stuff that we've developed. And he just was an affiliate for other people and would make massive money like that. It's just that different mindset. So this is a little off topic, but I like the idea. He actually was very much an impatient, patient person. He just learned just enough to get started, make that work patiently, and then upgrade his knowledge as needed while he was being patient. Yeah, and we've never heard of him. Oh yeah, he has no interest in being known. I was like, oh my gosh, you should make a course on that. And he's like, are you crazy? Then everybody will do it and it'll ruin it for me. I, of course, didn't realize that either. This 26-year-old teaching me all this stuff. It's so crazy. And that's the awesome thing, being able to be a 40-year-old going and learning from this 26-year-old, because the main thing I really learned from him was I didn't know it at the time that it was impatient patience. He didn't try and learn everything. He didn't know much about business, and he's making $10 million a year. Right? He's like, well, I knew you needed an accountant, and I needed a CPA, and a lawyer, and this, so he just went and got them. And they helped him. Like, it's just crazy. But anyway, okay, so, yeah, I need to get in that mode. Yeah, why not just do it today? Like, it's just so crazy. Have that impatience to get started now. Patience for the long run. Okay, so how many people had heard that concept? I hadn't heard that concept like 5 weeks ago. And like I said, this Periscope thing is my test on doing that, as well as the fitness stuff, the Keystone Habit. Anybody heard of that concept before? And I got a ton of these, but this is one of the main beginning one. Never. And this is my jam. Yeah, no doubt. Like I loved that. I loved learning about that. Now I got a whole bunch of that. That's all the stuff I'm going to be teaching in these. New to me. Yeah. Yeah, it's so crazy. So crazy. All right, guys. I haven't, and I've been a self-improvement nerd for many years, which joined midway. It's all new to me. The idea of, instead of being a patient, impatient person, instead being an impatient, patient person. A patient impatient is somebody that one day you'll do it. One day you'll do your goal. And then if you try and actually start, if that someday becomes now, you start and you're super impatient. It has to happen instantly or you quit. And most people quit. Commitment, courage, capability, and finally confidence. Yes, I love it. Exactly what I need to focus on. Mikhail, awesome. Damn straight. Yeah. And for any of you that are new, definitely check out the Facebook group. A lot of people in here are already in the Facebook group. But let me show you it right here. These lights just kill me. EpicLifeLeague.com. Read the description first. The description is all about I am more impatient patient. That is awesome. Great group, thank you. Read the description first. That is absolutely what we're about in the EpicLifeLeague.com group. We're definitely about creating this epic life, even if the truth is scary, hard, different, totally throwing you off. I've got so much more to come. Start now and figure it out as you go. That is awesome, Helena. I don't know why I'm adding an L. Henna. All right, guys. Any questions? Any last thing? Oh, I do have henna. I don't know why I was saying L. Easier said than done. Yeah, obviously. Changed for the morning. Well, okay, so here's one last question before we go. I wrote down, what is an example of when you did start something fast and were patient with the progress until it became a habit or even a skill? Because we've all done that too. Almost everybody I know, something triggered them to they were so excited about it, they did just take action. But we don't think of it as a base of how we're going to do it. Yes, when are we going to get the intro music? Yeah, that's coming. But I can't always make it so, but keep it until I do. Fitness, my morning routine, awesome. I translated the group info into Swedish and printed it out. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, the description to the group. Yeah, I've got more stuff coming with that. I'm going to develop that and get that sucker crystal clear because that's part of my vision for what's next with this whole Epic Life brand, right? Meditation, all right. So you were able to do it. So see, we have been able to do it. It's a matter of just making that our normal mode. That is the mindset we're constantly in when we've got this goal we want to do. We want to be impatient in the beginning and then patient, take our time with making that goal actually happen. All right, any other question, guys, before we go? Yeah, the take action, I would say today, is constantly keep this in your mind. Write it down even. Impatient patience. Write down what it means to you, what I said about that today, so that you can get that in your head, right? And if you want to answer those questions, again, they'll be in the, I'll put those in the scope notes for this episode in about 15 minutes or so. Yeah, let's get to work. Have a great, epic day. Yes, have an epic day. Absolutely. Thanks for this Periscope. Interesting stuff. Yeah, make sure to go to EpicLifeLeague.com. Sign up for the Facebook group and follow me. You can click the little guy down here, the little Perry guy, and click the plus next to my name, and you'll get notifications of when I scope. Here we go. EpicLifeLeague.com. Thank you guys. Thanks for spending this time together. I got more stuff coming out in the Facebook group today. We're going to start diving into reality, diving into the matrix, and start pulling it apart and see how we can use things that most people think are bad, like negative thoughts. Let's harness those suckers and use them for our end game, right? All right, guys. See you guys later.